Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep, brought to you by Benzinga Pro. I'm your co-host, Joel Alconin, along with Spencer Israel, and we have Reverend Father Emmanuel Lemelson on the line of Lemelson Capital Management. How you doing this morning, Reverend?
Glory be to God, Joel. All is well. Thanks for the invite to be on the show.
No, we're glad to have you on. Let's just get right to it. The Wall Street Journal article, I guess they contacted you some time ago, and you have noted 14 factual errors and omissions. Now we probably don't have time to go over all of those, but what were some of the egregious errors that you would like corrected, perhaps, by the journal?
Well, Joel, there was two parts to the Wall Street Journal article. There was actually a video component. It was like a small documentary. And they came and they interviewed me. Actually, about 15 hours I spent with their film crew.
Wow.
And they edited a large amount of that out, but at least it was still what was left, although edited and rearranged was still my own words. But then there was a written component by a reporter, and it was the strangest thing. I mean, after 4.5 months of interviewing just about everyone he could find, in my life, I mean, going as far as to reach out to my parish in Switzerland and the universities I attended, just wrote the strangest article. I mean, it was really, it had just radical errors of omission and mischaracterizations. It just poisoned the well. It was really quite a surprise. So, but, as we say in our faith, glory be to God, I personally think even that aspect of the article ultimately will be used to glorify God. So what wound up happening is, a lot of people picked up on the video aspect of it. It was played, for example, on TV and so forth in Greece. And we just received hundreds of letters, an outpouring of love and affection from people all over the world. And almost all of those letters began by saying they clearly understood what the reporter was doing. They understood his slant, his not so thinly veiled ad ham on an attack. And it's funny how these things work, There's a beautiful saying from Winston Churchill that a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. And it was sort of like that, but finally the truth is getting its pants on.
Let me interrupt you here for a second. I mean,
Sure.
did you get any inkling when he was interviewing you, at your home or asking you questions? Did you get any what that he was, trying to, put a negative spin on this, or was he?
Oh, that's a great question, Joe. I actually did, and I just didn't think that a person would have those ambitions. But he did give me a huge number of assurances. He said, "Look, my senior editor, is a faithful Christian. We're writing a positive story. We're going to put it in the A-head section of the paper. The A-head is an area for lighthearted, positive stories." And I said, "Look, I'm not really significant," I told him. I said, "but the life of the church is important, and wise investment policy is important, particularly within a Christian ethic. But don't write too much about me. Just write about these bigger issues that are more important." And I would express this to him. And, he always gave me lots of assurance. Don't worry. We would never say anything that would harm the life of the church or something negative. It's not our intention. But then, there were two instances I remember very clearly. One, we were at my house, and he looked at me and he said, "If I wanted to call you materialistic," he said, "I wouldn't come out and say it." He said, "I would just write the story in such a way that the reader has to come to that conclusion." I thought, oh, okay. But I didn't think you really meant it. I mean, it was looking back in hindsight, I guess it was a foretelling of what was to come. And then at a second point, he started to demand material non-public information on our funds. It would have really hurt one of our investors had it been public. And I just wasn't willing to divulge that information. And this was a few days before publication. When he couldn't get that material non-public information, he basically said, "I'm looking over your shoulder. If I don't get what I want, I'm going to make you look like Bernard Madoff."
Bernie Madoff?
Yeah, he said that. He said, "You're not going to be happy with the comments you see in this article." And at that point, I was kind of in disbelief. Did he really just say that? But I would never divulge material non-public information on one of my investors. And, but those were two, certainly sort of tipping his hat. But, he's a young reporter, and, he hasn't done too many profiles. He's certainly done nothing with religion. In his own admission, he's not a religious person. I think he bit off more than he could chew, and I think ultimately it's really going to backfire. I think it already has backfired. I think anyone contemplating giving an interview to this person would probably think twice about it. And, to be fair, I said, "Look, you should at least give me an opportunity to respond, to be fair." They didn't want to do that. So we just did our own press release.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a beautiful saying, Joel. From Christ, the truth will set you free, and I'll tell you, the truth is very, very powerful. You don't have to be a Christian to know that, but the truth is very powerful. It really can't be concealed. It can't be manipulated. It can't be stifled.
What kind of response have you got from the Wall Street Journal?
Oh, well, there's only so much they can do, right? So, I mean, they'll just have to say things like we stand by our story, because if they said anything else, it would lead to legal liability. So, I mean, you can only imagine an institution that size. But as large and as powerful as they are, the Wall Street Journal, they only really have their reputation. And, they're not more powerful than God or the truth. So, as venerable and old of an institution as they are, like any other organization or institution or individual, certainly subject to error and
Give us the
human
two
frailty.
biggest errors, in your opinion. The two biggest errors.
The biggest errors were really the errors of omission. They tried to paint a picture of a person, a materialistic person, perhaps in trouble, hiding things from investors, casting doubt. And, you couldn't find a more transparent fund, actually. I mean, we've divulged, even on your show, Joel, for 18 months, we've talked openly and extensively about just about every position we've taken. And we do it rationally with rational analysis. I think he tried to paint a picture of someone preying on the faithful, maybe. We're an exempt reporting advisor, so we only work with high net worth individuals. They're sophisticated investors. He was trying to convolute the issue. Say, here's a person with a double life. I mean, he even came out and said double life, which is really demeaning, which would imply somebody with something to hide or illegal or immoral. Nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, we just opened our home and our church and everything to the Wall Street Journal film crew. We do that just about every month with Benzing on the radio.
Okay,
And,
before
but, there's a saying, Joel, there's more errors of omission than commission. So rather than enumerate the errors of commission, I would just say look to the errors of omission, because those are really the major ones.
Okay, just real quick here. We got about a minute left. Hot number coming out of unemployment. They tried to dip the market, tried to battle green. Financials looking really strong here. What's your take on this move or potential move in interest rates?
Oh, well, glory be to God on the good employment number. It's good to know people, have jobs. On the interest rate, I was actually on Fox Business News, Varney and Company, yesterday. There's a video out there talking about Janet Yellen's comments. But when we think about interest rates, we always have to think about how quantitative easing is inflating asset prices. And the important underlying issue, Joel, is what is that doing to wealth disparity in the world and income inequality? Because the conduit for creation of wealth, of the 1%, if you will, is ownership of productive assets. But for the other 99%, it's a wage. And those wages don't go up as fast as inflation. And a large part of those wages is going to basic necessities like food. So they're probably greater than any time in recorded history we have a disparity in income inequality. And as the leading economy in the world, the U.S., we need to think very carefully about how we fix interest, because even countries that are net exporters, their population is also hurt by artificially depressed interest rates through bond purchases and quantitative easing. So we need to think about the bigger human issues, I think, in that. And we need to return to a little bit more normal monetary policy. This is a very uncommon monetary policy for 10 years. Let's look at it from that perspective. There's a human component, which is just huge.
We've been on the line with Reverend Father Emmanuel Lemelson of the Lemelson Capital Management and Nova Fund. Thanks a lot, Reverend, for coming on. We're definitely going to keep an eye on this story, and we'll be getting updates from you periodically.
So nice being with you, my friend. Thanks for the invitation. Take care.
Okay, thank you.